What it do, everybody? It's Baby Rue, and welcome back to another video on the Repentance YouTube channel. And today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different because I got a new daily, and I was kind of trying to decide because I want to make a video with the new daily, but I wanted to decide what video I was gonna make. And as I thought on it more and more, I realized these cars kind of competed with each other at one point or another when they first came out. So I kind of had the idea of, why don't I drive both cars, both the Lincoln and the new one, and see, okay, because they were in a similar class, because they were at a similar price range, if I was in the position to buy one brand new when they first came out, then which one would I actually choose? Because I love both cars, honestly. But which one would I buy if I had to buy a brand new car and it was, I'm going to say 96, even though I know the Lincoln's a 94. If it was, the year 1996 and I had to buy a brand new luxury sedan, which one would I choose and for what reasons? So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do today. Try to answer that question. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. Now, if y'all haven't watched, we are currently in my 94 Lincoln Town Car, Cartier Designer Edition. It's not very modified or anything. It has a muffler delete, which y'all are gonna see in the next video. It has a Focal and JL sound system in it. There's a little bit of DC in there too. And then, just like some little things like the Starlight headliner and everything. But other than that, it's a completely stock town car fundamentally. I love this car. This car is kind of weird to get in after a week of not driving it. Because my other car, the car I'm compared against, is, while granted kind of like its competitor, the exact opposite. They're so different from each other. One thing I do like about this car is just how easy it is to drive. Like I can turn this thing with one finger, no effort at all. It's just smooth, easy. The size is also crazy because I looked up the definition of what a luxury car is. I'm going to pull in here just because it kind of gives me a place to showcase. So give me 1 second. I'm going to read what the definition of a luxury car is, and kind of go based on those critiques, based on the true definition of a luxury car. Which one is A, the better luxury car, or B, would I actually buy? Obviously I'd buy either of them because I have both. But which one, if, instead of spending the however much $3,000 I spent on these cars, if I had to spend $38,000 because that was the original MSRP of both vehicles. And one thing that we'll get to when we get to the other car is this is the top of the line model for this car, and granted the original MSRP is based off of numbers in 94, so inflation makes it jump a little bit, but so this would probably be a little bit more in the same time period, but not by much is what I'm saying. So this is the exact definition of a luxury car based on Google, because you can always trust what you find on the internet. So a luxury car is a car that provides increased levels of comfort, equipment, amenities, quality, performance, and associated status compared to moderately priced cars. The term is subjective and relative both the qualities of the car and brand image of its manufacturer. So, starting off with that last part, I think the brand image of Lincoln, for being honest, is not the best. This is a car that you could see the president get driven in, but the brand image is also very much based upon, I'll say, an older demographic. It's not a car that gets young people excited, and you know, young people are the ones that control the market. So I think that's where this car really falls pales in comparison to the other car, because you know, that name doesn't ring bells in the same way that the other car does. Granted, those who know Lincoln know Lincolns as good cars. I would say, you know, if I was expecting to get a luxury car, I would be expected to be able to drive it at a plethora of places. So I feel like reliability would be of big importance, and this is a very reliable car. It's just a Ford 4.6. You know, it's not complicated in any type of way that it doesn't need to be. I would say I was pleasantly surprised by the not complacency. You know, I'm trying to say words. Complication. I was surprised by how many speakers this had, because you know, nowadays you hear cars that got 32 speakers, you know, 42 speakers surround. But you know, for a 94 car that, you know, didn't cost $100,000, it cost 38. You know, it had a 9-speaker sound system in it from 94 that even when I pulled it out, yeah, the factory sub blew, probably because I was playing the wrong type of music on a factory sub like that. But it was a good sounding sound system, like so much to the point where I've been, you know, I just dumped a whole bunch of money into it, and yeah, I have clarity, but like I'm also fighting other things with the car, which honestly, if you're trying to build an audio car, a Lincoln Town Car is not the one to do it in, I've learned. But back to it. So this car came with surprisingly a lot of features. So it's got, oh, hold on, let me flip the camera around. Let me flip the camera. But you know, it has heated seats, or not heated seats, memory seats. And it has a whole plethora of controls. You can tilt the front and the rear. All of these functions still work for the most part. You know, seat forward and back. You can bring it down and up. And then there's, you know, your lumbar and the back of the seat on the side of the seat. And then you have an automatic window for the driver. And then you have 3 normal windows. Power windows on this guy, which are also, if you can't see, heated. It had the 9-speaker surround. It has a digital dash, which I will say is very outdated. It has automatic lights, meaning it will automatically turn on and off these lights.
Wow.
It has a digital climate control. A very basic, and these climate controls are not very high quality. You can see where they're kind of getting dented in from being pressed on, so I need to buy a new one of those. But you know, it's a car that looks like it's from the 80s, but it has digital climate control, digital dash, which, you know, was also an 80s thing. It has, you know, the whole bench seat. You can fit 6 people in here. The armrest, it's leather. And honestly, you know, being an old American car, yes, you know, there's this faux wood that really attempts to look like wood, but does not. The dash, I wouldn't say it's like super hard, but it's definitely hard plastic. That's a little plastic. The armrests actually aren't too bad. I like the armrests better in this car than I do the other car. They're softer. The steering wheel, you know, you can get this in an F-150. They didn't do anything fancy with this steering wheel. And honestly, for how, you know, this car is the size of an Escalade ESV. Oops. And you know, I'm 6'2". It's a big car. But let's say sitting at my normal seating thing, and forgive me for it being kind of dirty, it's been kind of just sitting, it's been chilling, you know, I lean back hella and I could still fit back here. The seats back here, oh lord, it's like sitting on a couch. All the seats honestly are like sitting on a couch. It's the most comfortable, the ride is the most plushy thing you will ever feel. And you know, if I had to be chauffeured around in a car, I wouldn't be mad about getting chauffeured around in this car. Like, especially, you know, because most people get chauffeured on that side. You clear out you move the seat forward, and boom. Granted, people don't really smoke anymore unless I smoke a blunt, but it's got ashtrays all the way around. Very, you know, early 90s, late 80s American. The trunk, which I'm gonna show you, but there's a lot more done than y'all have seen if you watch the other lowrider build, the previous lowrider build video words. So the trunk is a lot more done, but y'all will see that in next week's video. The trunk is massive, bro. Like, oh, what the heck? The trunk is huge. You know, they make those jokes, you know, you could fit 3 dead bodies in here. You probably could. I mean, not that I'm gonna find out, but you know, you probably could fit a number of dead bodies in here. The trunk is massive. You know, if you needed to get driven to the airport, you could fit all of your luggage back there in ease, in comfort. And a car that, honestly, because it's so big and because it's like a sedan, it just kind of gives that presence of fuck you. Like, there's no need for this car to be that big. I'm gonna wait for this fool to pass so I can get better sound quality. Like, the engine ends like right, hold on, you can't see my hand. The engine ends right here, man, and it's got a whole 1.5 feet on the front. It's a car very much built upon like excess. Which, I mean, isn't that what you kind of want in a luxury car? So now we can go drive around them a little bit more and review it. I accidentally stopped recording. Visibility in it is amazing. You can see everything. And honestly, without tint like this, it's kind of fishbowly. But I feel like that applies to the aesthetic of the car. The car just says so much. Like, look at me. Like, the hood emblem. Like, it just commands so much presence that, you know, why wouldn't you want to be seen in it? But I love this car. You know, it handles like shit, gets terrible gas mileage. Maybe not terrible. Honestly, it gets better gas mileage than I thought it would for a 5,000 pound car. But you know, it's not gonna be your Honda Civic. But man, I just love driving it so much. Like, it always just brings such a happy feeling to my face. And honestly, the other car brings me a lot of joy too, but in such different ways, which is why I wanted to make this video, is because, like, I think both cars are great at what they're designed to do. I think they're really hidden gems, because I think while the other car is a little less slept on, I think both of these cars are very slept on. Because, you know, I'm a Caddy guy, but I don't know if I would take this over like the equivalent year Fleetwood Chrome. You know, I think the dashes are kind of ugly in that. I think the exterior styling, ooh, much better. Oh, he has the wheels I want. Anyway, I think the exterior styling is much better, but like, just like the things that you touch and feel and look at every day. I guess it's American luxury. It's not, you know, I don't got lambskin on my carpets. But for a $38,000 car back in the day, probably adjusted for inflation like 50 or 60, I'd imagine. I bought this car for $60K, you know, I would not be upset about what all it does. Like, listen to it. That is one thing. I think they should have deadened it more. And I don't know if that's because like this one has bad seals over time. But it does kind of, not a lot of road noise, but you know, you get a little bit more road noise in this one than the other one, which I was surprised about. On top of that, like the quality, I would say the quality of the paint on this one, because both cars were left outside for a year when I bought them. This car buffed right out, easy. Looks brand new. This car looks like, the paint looks like it left the showroom. Yeah, there's some rock chips, but that's because I drive it, and that's because it's been driven. But the quality, and you know, the quality of the paint in, you know, these 90s cars, because I've had quite a few like 90s BMWs, Hondas and shit, all of the paint sucked. And you know, most American cars, especially like the modern ones, their paint sucks too. But this one is great. The clear coat is so good on these. I don't know what they did for this, but they should have kept doing it. And I don't know if it's because it's the Cartier edition, so it had like, you know, a special white. Because I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think this white was like standard for the Signature or the Executive series. But yeah, comment down below if I'm incorrect on that. Also, like, you know, it came with a 6-disc CD changer. Has a phone, factory amplified system. Like, I dead got a phone. It doesn't work anymore. But, you know, hello, Mr. President, how you doing today? That's the type of feeling that this car gives me. Is like, I feel special driving it. And the thing is, too, the amount of, I get so many compliments on this car, and it's pretty damn near stock on the outside. From an outside perspective looking in, this car is damn near stock, and everyone loves it. I love it, honestly. Like, I hope, you know, I'm never gonna sell this car. I'm gonna do whatever in my like, I know there's ups and downs to life, but I'm gonna do whatever possible in my, whatever humanly possible to keep this car, because I love it, and I love it so much more than I ever thought I would. Oh, another thing is, it's got the power adjusting rear view mirror for like when people follow you too closely. It's a 94. It looks like it's from the 80s. Honestly, it does. The design language looks like it's from the 80s, but it's a 94. And it's just so comfortable. Like, this is a car that you could hop in and road trip, and the whole ride there, you would just be fine. Might be stopping a lot for gas, but you'd be fine. And I would trust it to do that. It's a very trustworthy car. I've had a few issues with it, like the water pump starting to go out, but you know, it's just an old car. That's just normal wear items. It's not like it's had any type of real serious issues. But I think this is where we're gonna draw the line on the Lincoln, and then we'll hop into the other car. And for me, it will probably be an hour or two. For you, it'll be a number of seconds. In 3, 2, 1. Alright, but this is the Beamer. The M Sport wheel is not factory. Neither are the A and C pillars. This is honestly the car that inspired me to do a lot of stuff with the Lincoln. As far as like, you know, doing the A and the C or A and the D pillars. And I like going to Joann's to get this shit. This is literally the car that you know, I learned about that type of stuff on. These are the 3 ways, as I was saying.
So it's got the 3-ways. Not the biggest fan of the wheels or the tint. The tint's gonna have to get redone. I'm probably gonna do something dark on this one. I didn't really want to tint the Lincoln, but I want to tint this one. Probably wrap these fenders too. But I love these cars. The E39s or just this generation of BMWs in general. Such attractive cars, like the body lines. I be looking at this body line all the time, and it looks a lot better on the gray one. But this one, too. It's on BC Extreme Lows. The reason why he kind of gave up on the car is because one of our other homies was kind of lit, and he rear-ended it twice in one night. So he was on the list of Subi and hit it here, and then hit it here, which, like, I'm not, too upset about. That could probably get fixed later down the line, but at the moment, the car is probably just gonna end up kind of ignorant. So I don't really care if it's not the cleanest, but it's got poly motor mounts, poly bushings for the transmission, headers with high flow cats, like I said, the BC Extreme Lows. If it stays, no, it's not gonna stay. But F54 B20. Got the BC Extreme Lows. I'm gonna need to get it up and adjust that camber because it's all the way cambered. But honestly, I really like the BCs after driving this car for like a week. It's got the headers down there, strut tower brace. It's got, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, poly motor mounts that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are also lifted a little bit, so that way, because this car, oh no, that's what it was. This car had blown. This, on the other hand, is one problem with having a low car. Test drive of the BMW, and granted, keep in mind this is a little unfair towards the BMW, just because the Lincoln's factory suspension, or minus the fact that it has Crown Vic springs on it, but other than that, it's factory. So this car on coilovers with poly bushings and all that is, if you can't tell, rides a little worse. So we're not gonna count that against the whole thing about luxury, because honestly these stock do ride pretty nice. They're definitely more stiff than the Lincoln, but honestly I feel like while these cars are similar in the sense of price and they're both luxury sedans, I feel like they're built for two different people. I feel like, and this is true too, I feel like the town car was made, to transport people. People who wanted to get chauffeured around, and this is a car that you drive. This is a car for, some director inside of some company to go ahead and buy as their daily. And I feel like this car kind of hits a little bit higher on the technology and definitely the sportiness, because and this is a BMW thing, at driving around town, the steering is kind of stiff. No lie. The steering is gonna be stiff.
But it's like when you drive it towards its limits, that's when you realize why it's so stiff. Because it just has such a authentic feedback when you drive it, especially around corners, and especially at the car's limits. It's going to give you very responsive feedback. You know exactly what the car is doing. The car feels a lot sportier. Even going like low speeds, even though it's a inline 6 compared to the V8, I definitely feel like this car is more peppy, especially when you floor it. When you floor the Lincoln, I'm gonna take that back. Just putting around and, you know, putting maybe like a quarter throttle input in, the Lincoln feels faster just because it's so torquey. But this guy, when you floor it and, you know, you actually get on it, which I'll do whenever the road opens up, it feels a lot sportier. And, you know, I like this steering wheel. Honestly, probably a little bit more than the Lincoln. It looks better. You know, it doesn't look like it came out of an F-150. And on top of that, it's very thick, which kind of gives to the sportiness. Another thing that I like about this over the Lincoln is, you know, the interior on the Lincoln looks very dated. It looks very 80s, which I like about it. I like how dated it looks and how old it looks for, you know, not being relatively that old of a car. But this interior is so much more timeless, you know, like, and the faux wood here too is a much better quality. And, you know, unlike the Lincoln where it looks like plastic that was painted to look like wood, you know, this looks like lacquered wood. That's a little plasticky. Also, you know, this did come factory with like a 6-disc changer as well. No phone. Still a factory amplified system. This one having more speakers, having 3 ways in the front, and then 2 ways in the rear, which at the moment the 2 ways in the rear, you know, don't work, but we're gonna get those working, and then we'll have like a full honest opinion of the radio. But there's honestly, the 3 ways do so much, especially for like imaging. There are times where I like this, you know, the radio in this car better than the one in the Lincoln, and I just put a lot of money into the Lincoln, which to be honest kind of makes me mad, but it's cool because we have a learning experience. So Lincoln needs 3 ways. This car definitely gets a lot better gas mileage. I would say these are, minus the misconception of, you know, BMWs, especially older BMWs, this car is fairly reliable. You know, it's had some things broke and it's had a lot replaced, but that's kind of how you keep BMWs reliable, is just a constant swap of parts. And honestly, the parts are cheaper on this than they are on the Lincoln. For example, this needs taillights, like a whole taillight housing, and it probably needs headlights because the adjuster on the headlights is broken. Those little like corner markers in the side on the Lincoln, those are $250. My whole headlight assembly on this is $189. And it's like, this car, surprisingly enough, is cheaper to modify, and maybe not maintain. I'm not gonna say maintain, because of the motor itself, but like if you need any parts for this car, it's a lot easier to find them, and they're generally cheaper, which is kind of weird to say, comparing an American car to a German car. On top of that, you know, this has the sunroof, which surprisingly enough, I think the sunroof on the Lincoln was a factory option, because on the button on the Lincoln, it's got a BMW sunroof switch. I don't know why else they would do that from factory unless it was a factory add-on or a dealer add-on. But there's a BMW logo on the back of the sunroof switch, which I even looked at because I'm like, dang, that looks familiar. I would say, too, on top of that, you know, these door panels have been taking off before. The door panels on the Lincoln are kind of falling off. These are sturdy. And that's what I've liked about all of my BMWs. And honestly, that's kind of why I like BMWs, especially over like Mercedes, is, you know, this car has 220,000 miles on it. And, you know, it's got an occasional creak here and there, especially because of the coilovers. But other than that, it's fine. Like, it's really not bad. Like, everything still feels intact. Even on this, and I think it was kind of just a product of the times. You know, I wish there was some more soft touch materials in places. Like, for example, this armrest on the door panel kind of sucks. It's kind of uncomfortable, especially compared to the Lincoln. But at the same time, like, this car just drives so good. And I know that, you know, the Lincoln is called a town car, but I kind of feel like this feels better around town. Or, I don't know, because it feels really good on the highway too. That's something I've always loved about BMWs, is you could just cruise at like 100 or 120. Not that I'd ever do that on public roads, only on a track, of course. You can cruise at like 100, 120. The car doesn't even feel like it's working, you know? I could not do that in the Lincoln. So this car definitely beats it out performance-wise. It's a little bit more practical, I would say. I'm gonna hop in the back and sit to see, you know, how much room I have. Kind of the same thing I did with the Lincoln. But I feel like the use of space, given the body size, is better. Like, this is a much smaller car. It's not a small car by any means, but it's definitely a lot smaller than the Lincoln. So it's a little bit more practical around town, especially nowadays, because, you know, parking spots are small. There's just so many cars on the road. This one feels a lot more nimble and a lot more, I don't want to say accessible, but, you know, it just feels better. Granted, you know, this is a 525, so I'm sure a lot of like the power and torque things that I don't like about this car would be fixed if it was a 540. But at the same time, the 540 would be more expensive than the Lincoln. So it's like you give and you take some. But these motors are super good. This thing has, granted, it's had some gaskets replaced, a lot of gaskets replaced, but it's a 220,000 mile BMW that doesn't leak oil. What else could you ask for, you know? Like, and I guess this, I'll put in a little bit of story behind this car. I bought this car from a buddy of mine, someone that I've known for a decently long time, and, you know, got a lot of respect for. Him and his family, like, definitely, like, helped me out a lot. And I was looking at buying another daily, and my dad had a car that I was going to buy off of him, an SUV. But I'm like, that's not going to get the best gas mileage. And I'm kind of in, like, a similar position to where I'm at with the Lincoln, as far as, you know, it doesn't get the best gas mileage. It's a big-ass car, which I like big cars, but as a daily, not the funnest. And then he randomly posted this up for sale because he was about to send it to the junkyard. And I'm like, bro, no. I'm like, don't do that. Let me save it. Because I remember driving this car years ago and, you know, being in love with it back then. And then now that, you know, I just went and picked up the title today. Now that I own it, it just, it still feels really good, and it gives, it might be nostalgia, but it's a good car. So I didn't want to see her die. And then if I was to build
something like this for a daily. Like if I was gonna find an E39, probably in better condition body wise, but then try to put, you know, extreme lows and do long tube headers and high flow cats, it would have cost me a pretty penny to do all the things that are done to this car. And I got it for $1,500. So, and that's another reason why I want to compare them, is I bought them for around the same. I bought the Lincoln for 12, I bought this for 15. And you know, they're both cars that had kind of been abandoned, and I wouldn't say didn't have love, but you know, needed some love. And here I am to save the day. But I don't know, I love this car, especially on corners. Like, it's so much more fun to like drive. I feel like this one is a lot more of a driver's car. The Lincoln is a lot more of a cruiser. The dash is lit up like a Christmas tree, as you would expect with a BMW. Kind of, what I've discovered, if you own these older BMWs, just ignore the lights. Oh, another thing that this has that the Lincoln does not have, has ABS, which Lincoln has, but it doesn't like to work on the Lincoln. Anytime the Lincoln senses any type of slip, the ABS likes to shut itself off, which is kind of like the wrong time for the ABS to stop working. But this has ABS, and it also has traction control, which also likes to turn itself off. So there's that. It has some weird electrical issues. I feel like the Lincoln definitely beats that out because, you know, it's just basic Ford electrical. But end of the day, I love having both of these cars simultaneously, because I think they both do good things. I think I like both for different reasons. So even though they're similar, it's different. Same, but different. It's like the same but different, you know? Like, both are luxury sedans, but both are worlds apart from like what they actually do. I could not drive this with one finger like I was doing the whole time recording with the Lincoln. Or I could, but my finger would be sore. But honestly, if I had to choose either of them, I would choose both, because I don't know, I love both of them a lot. And they both have their own unique soul that, you know, is kind of hard to find, especially in like newer cars, which is why I don't really like newer cars. That's why I haven't like financed a new car or something. It's just like I hate the fact that new cars have such little soul. Like, they're just machines at that point. But like, these have personalities. Like that, I know sometimes I gotta hit this one a certain way for her to do something that I want. You know, like there's just so much more drama involved with it. And maybe I'm toxic, but I love the drama from both my women and my cars. But yeah, I think that's really the conclusion of it. I would have both if I could have afforded it. I mean, I wasn't born yet, but if I could have afforded it before I was born, I would have bought both of these brand new and been perfectly happy with it. I think this car is a much nicer daily than the Lincoln. Granted, I feel like that's also partially because, you know, it's kind of beat up, so I don't care about door dings and stuff as much, because like, what are you gonna do? Speaking of doors, actually, the door hinges on this feel way better. They feel a lot stiffer, a lot more solid. I have issues with the door hinges on the Lincoln. They both just have their own little issues, and they both have their own little personalities. And honestly, I'm hoping that both of these cars can help me build this channel, because I don't want to ever get rid of either of them, and I want to, you know, turn them into what I can see them
being. Like, I see so much potential in both of them. Even this one, even though it's a little, you know, she's a little ugly and she's been a little beat up, you know, I see the potential in what she could turn into. And yeah, I know I've already said this conclusion, but I would have both. So anyway, thank you for watching this video with me. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. This is another video on the Repentance YouTube channel. This is Baby Rube signing out.